We need another mic because it's keeping us on the clock.
Mr. Prime Minister, sir, the may begin.
Good evening, House. Good evening, prestigious Mr. Speaker, and my most learned parliamentarians in the House. As the Prime Minister of this honorable House, we seek and we will ban political parties in Nigeria. It may sound ridiculous, but I think we get to situations in life when we as the government take some decisions that betters the society. Now the question is, what are the political parties we're basically talking about? We're talking about parties in a political party is any specific political organization that subscribes to a certain ideology that seeks to attain political power to representation in government. This is exactly what we have in Nigeria. And what is the status quo that has called for this debate? We are having a status quo where for you to seek any elected position in the nation, you must be affiliated to a political party. That's the basic criteria that you can have to go ahead. Now the question is, why would we have to ban this? There are problems in the status quo that we seek to correct. What are the problems we're talking about? Firstly, there is a problem that there is heavy corruption, and we feel that this will go a long way, not to eradicate corruption, but at least to bring a zero level of tolerance in corruption. Secondly, there's an issue of godfatherism. Thirdly, there's hidden identity which calls for citizens, where people hide under the umbrella of their political parties and commit various heinous crimes because they are covered by the political party. Thirdly, we talk about the political unrest to an extent which is masterminded by various of these opposition parties and even the main parties and not the opposition parties that are already in existence. And also we talk about the issue of organized crime. Now, these are the problems. The question is, how do we want to ban this? We're not just trying to ban them by placing a total ban on them. Get me right. We are going to ban them for as long as we have not yet maintained a stable, citizen-friendly and security-friendly political platform. That is to say, by the time we'll be able to attain this, we can lift this ban and make democracy a non-partisan democracy in existence. Now, how do we really want to ban these people? First and foremost, we are trying to bring about a revoke of the acts that established them. No, thank you, sir. We are trying to revoke this act that established them. Not necessarily because this act as an act has failed, but because we want to cause a change. You may say, how are we going to get the majority of the House to achieve this? It's simple. We are the ones proposing this. We just make them understand the benefits of this, and I believe they'll be able to do this. Secondly, we are going to pass a bill in the National Assembly that will go a long way to promote a non-partisan democracy, and in such a way, we are going to be able to accomplish what we want. Now, it would be so foolish if we should just ban these parties without telling you what we'll achieve or what we want to use to replace this. We are replacing it by a non-partisan democracy. And before I go into that, I'll allow you to take your view.
Mr. Chair, it tells us that they are going to ban this thing not because it has failed, just because they want a change. How realistic and shameful is that?
You cannot tell me that. Thank you very much. I'll think about your view. I never said we are banning them. We're banning them because we're not failed. Basically, I've already stated the problems with the status quo, and the problems with the status quo evidently tells you that they have failed us. These political parties are supposed to make us understand what we are standing for and create a more stable political environment. But we're already having political unrest, organized crime, and people hiding under the umbrella of their political parties to cause a problem. It is a failure, evidently. So our problems with the status quo critically shows that it has failed, and that is why we are calling for a change. As the Prime Minister of this House, I want to talk on basically reasons why we should ban them. First and foremost, in order to build a healthier political platform. Yes, we are in a democratic system of government, but believe me, many people are living in fear, even though they have good political ideologies. just because they know that they will not get a say and they will not get an ability to rule, to get elected, because they don't have good political parties covering them. We have about 50 political parties in Nigeria, but the truth is we have only basically 2 of them active. And you still see that most of these other political parties are there and they get formed every day, because once you form a political party, the government gives you 10 million naira in order to have a foundation, build up your ground, and you see many people exploiting the government, forming political parties that remain dominant and without being able to do anything. So in order to create a more healthier political party, political environment and stability, we believe that creating a ban of this and bringing in a better thing would be a solution to this. Now, what is the better issue we want to bring to the House? What we want to bring into this House is a non-partisan democracy. A situation whereby there's individual interest and electioneering. A situation whereby people who feel that they have the zeal and they have the ability to represent themselves and also to represent the nation in a democratic setting comes up and they come up, they declare their interest to the public, the people accept their public opinion polls, and everybody ascertains whom they really want to vote. Today we are having a situation whereby people vote the party and not the individual. And they are voting the party because sometimes these individuals are not good enough, but because they've already pledged allegiance to these political parties. So you see people voting these political parties, and at the end they have regrets, and there is cynicism of citizens. Citizens complaining, but they just can't help it because they get money from these political parties. We feel it's a problem. We feel it's not helping us attain a stable and a better democracy, and because of this, we move for a change. Secondly, we talk about the issue of removing elitism as a criteria of government. Many people have this idea. Many people have this ability. Many people know what they want to do. Many people are able to bring about the revolution in the political sector, but they just can't, because the political party has created this environment and this scenario that if you're not an ally, you just cannot do anything. But there are those who have the idea that can change the world. They can't do it because they are not affiliated to any political party. Even if they are affiliated to ones that are not doing. And we feel it's a very big problem, and it is not a better way and a better, healthier political platform for us to bring about a sustainable development and change in the nation. Considering this, we are saying we want to ban this. We abandon it by placing bills for non-partisan democracy, even as we have in Kuwait, we have in Pakistan, we also have in places like Qatar, and it is working in these places, and most of them are having stable economies. We cannot continue with this. It is very necessary that we come to terms that we need to build a political arena, build a political environment, and get this sustainable democracy in the long run. What have I been able to tell this House? We've been able to tell you the status quo, the problems in the status quo, reasons why we want to change this problem, why we want to change the status quo, and how we really want to do this by bringing in a situation whereby individuals indicate interest. And as a result of this, I believe we fulfill the rules, and we are proud to propose. Thank you.
At this point, I'll invite the leader of opposition.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is grand final. But before I begin my argument, I'm going to tell you a burden that opening government has failed in this debate. Firstly, the common denominator that floors their case is that if we jumpstart position them with reality, it's impracticable when compared with the idea of political mainstream in Nigeria. One thing they have failed in this debate is to define the word ban. They simply talked about the idea of political parties. But we tell you that the word ban means to forbid. And those ideas are simply entertained during military institutions. And I'm going to show you how. I will tell you this, we're going to tell you this as opening up in 7 arguments, but I'll tell you 4 of those arguments. Firstly, I will tell you, if we entertain what opening government tells us, what to simply tell you is that the state cannot interfere with the platform that acts as a check on them. And secondly, we tell you that the state wants to eliminate opposition. And we also tell you that the idea, even if we might pretend to entertain it, is unconstitutional. And I'll also tell you how this will lead to minority exclusivity in Nigeria. And I'll explain to you how this will not benefit the common man. Now to my reporters. What do we get from government? Government tells us things they don't really explain. They tell us they're going to bring us 4 arguments which they leave hanging. They tell us about the idea of corruption, godfatherism, and political unrest. I would assume that they are like a military regime that simply give excuse to talk about the institution of government because they want to exclude people from participating mainly in the mainstream politics. They also told us about the idea that they're going to introduce something called non-partisan democracy. One response. Political parties also present individuals when they want to contest for election. So their policy cannot work, it's impracticable in Nigeria. Now to our first case. We tell you, if we entertain this idea, what we're simply doing is that the state, firstly, cannot interfere with a platform in which people can actually check on their excesses. How do we do this? The most instrument in which people have against the state is political parties, because that is the only means in which people contest election, and that's the only means in which people can act as a check on the excesses of government. We tell you that military regime ban political parties because they don't want people to check on their excesses. What they simply want to do is to remain in power. And ladies and gentlemen, this kind of idea is authoritarian. We tell you that the narration we get from government is flawed, because what they do is to exclude people from participating in mainstream politics. We also tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that this has only occurred firstly during the military regime in 1967 when ANUDC came to power. What did we see? The military junta banned the constitution, and what they do is they exclude political parties because they didn't want to go out of power. We shouldn't entertain this idea, ladies and gentlemen. We tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that the state wants to eliminate all forms of opposition. The essence of democratic institutions is that there should be opposition. What we do, for example, is that in Nigeria, where we already have a dominant political class known as the PDP. The PDP, for example, will assume is currently scared because they see there's a strong pressure coming from another political party known as the APC. So, what this political institution simply want to do is to maintain hegemony on power and make people subservient on them. We tell you that the only way people can actually check on government policy is through political party. Because in any institution where if there is a strong opposition, the state will not mess up when they make policy that affect the life of people. I will take closing if they have anything.
Okay, can you actually bring to this house that the governments?
Can you just bring to this house that governments do not control political parties existing in the states, and remedial rights activism does not actually control the governments?
Ladies and gentlemen, we tell you that currently in Nigerian political mainstream, government don't control political parties. If government does that, then we're not going to have the APC currently contesting election. Nigerian political ideology has changed so much that currently politics have changed from ethnic sentiment and tribal sentiment. That is why we have a strong force currently of the APC in states in the southern region, such as Rivers State. We tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that if state control political parties, as it gave me in his positive POI, which makes no sense in this debate, we tell you that there won't be any political parties currently in Nigeria, and the APC will not be having a presence in current mainstream politics. To my other argument, the idea of it being unconstitutional. They tell us, ladies and gentlemen, that they are going to revoke the constitution. Like I told you in my introduction, I tell you this kind of ideas are only entertained through military juntas. Because military juntas simply revoke the constitution. What they want to do, ladies and gentlemen, is to take out the only instrument that gives people a voice in this country. The Constitution of Nigeria is supreme, and that is what we should respect. In the Constitution of Nigeria, ladies and gentlemen, it allows for mainstream politics. It allows for people to comment and act as check on them through election. And political parties are the only means in which people can contest election and also check government excesses. The Constitution does not support this idea. If they tell us they will elect a bill, what they are simply doing, ladies and gentlemen, is to give the dominant political class in Nigeria a power to dominate Nigerian political mainstream and to make people subservient to their ideology. We do not support an institution that makes people subservient. We do not support an institution that makes the common man act of the mainstream of politics. Even if, ladies and gentlemen, we are to adopt this policy, Nigeria is so multifarious that we have a lot of ethnic groups. These ethnic groups, ladies and gentlemen, are scared. Currently, some people are afraid that when certain dominant political class come into power, what they want to do is to maintain hegemony over the mainstream politics. When we do this kind of thing, we make people afraid of the institution of Nigeria. This cannot work in Nigeria because of this fear of ethnic dominance and tribal dominance. We do not support this kind of policy. We tell you, you shouldn't forbid political parties because political parties currently in Nigeria have changed. They do not in any way contest election based on tribal sentiment. If you do this kind of idea, you're getting us back to the past where people, for example, are basically sentimental about who or who doesn't occupy governmental power. Does open government say anything to this? Please respond.
Yes. You talk about ban being an issue in the military regime. How do you prove to us that democracy is practiced in the military regime?
Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't tell you that democracy is practiced in the military regime. That's a very preposterous response I get from opening government. What I told you, ladies and gentlemen, is military institutions are not in themselves democratic. So there's no need to show you that body. It's relevant to this argument. Now to my next argument. I told you This does not benefit the common man. How? It doesn't benefit the common man because there's already a strong presence of politics in Nigeria. And the common man only recognizes the idea that political parties are relevant in the political mainstream. Because that is the only way the common man has seen they can comment and check on government exercises. We tell you, if you take this away, the common man will not have any platform in which they can criticize government. The common man will not have anything to no longer identify with a particular institution. The common man will not support this idea, and democracy is the government of the people. And any democratic institution that doesn't benefit the common man in the street cannot work. We support democratic institutions. And we tell you that the global institution has become so popular with the idea of democracy that we shouldn't in any way allow any excuse coming from open government that they are afraid of to show us the burden of why we should support this idea of on this basis open opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition. We'll now have the Deputy Prime Minister.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Speaker, the House. The resolution before us reads, this House will ban political parties in Nigeria. And I came here for a few reasons, which is to clarify some issues that the opposition clearly do not understand, and to make a few rebuttals, then summarize the case of my Prime Minister, and go on to give you my positive matter. Now, what are these clarifications that I have for you? The opposition leader came up here to tell us that it is not practicable. I believe that all of us were here when the Prime Minister gave us how we intend to practice this policy, how we intend to put it into law. We have been able to show you how we intend to make it practicable. How can you come up and tell us that it's no longer practicable? Mr. Speaker, you agree with me that this team is in trouble. Why? You know that a team is in trouble, first of all, when they decide to toe a line that is serious, that does not follow what the government has presented. He mentioned to us the issue of that banning political parties is what is obtainable in the military regime. Please let me ask you, is there elections going on in the military regime? No. Military regime do not have elections. They just take over power from one person to another. How can you be comparing the democracy with the military regime? It is not comparable. Now, you also mentioned the issue of dominant political class. This is what is obtainable with the status quo. As my Prime Minister has been able to tell you, we have a dominant political class that controls a political party, and whoever they say the political party will bring up, that is who the political party will bring up. So this issue that you mentioned is actually against them and not for them, because these political parties are actually governed or ruled by a particular class of persons, people who believe that they are elites, that they can sit in the houses and control what happens in the government. This is what my government also mentioned when you mentioned the issue of non-partisan. But before I explain further, what do you have to say?
I told you on my response on military that your idea basically is only obtainable through military institution. That you try to militarize the political process.
Fine, thank you very much. You said that the idea is obtainable in military positions, and I'm telling you that even elections is not obtainable in military. And we're telling you that we want to ban political parties that because these people have to seek elected positions under political parties. So it does not follow at all. I believe that you are able to understand this now. And also you have mentioned the issue of eliminating opposition. For God's sake, it is when we have banned these political parties that we can actually have a fair opposition. We can have people that feel free to oppose the government. Not when we have a particular political party ruling. We know the issue of the state government. When the state governor is a PDP, every other person under him are in PDP. The state house of assembly, the local government chairman, the ministers, everybody has to become PDP. This is the problem with the status quo. And so by banning these political parties, we are not eliminating opposition. Rather, we are giving opposition a chance to thrive on a personal basis. Also, you mentioned the issue of unconstitutionality. Now, it is unconstitutional, right? Because you said that we are revoking that. You mentioned the fact that we want to revoke the constitution as the military people do. No, like my Prime Minister mentioned to you, we want to revoke this act that has that support the creation of political parties, because it has a lot of problems. Like my prime minister told you, let me go straight into his summary, in case you didn't get it the first time he came. He told you the status quo and told you the problem with the status quo. He promotes corruption because this person gather around and they want to bring in a particular person into governance. We have the issue of a particular party gathering to do fundraising for their candidates, and they tend to raise 21 billion naira just to get in one person into office. Tell me how he intends to pay back if not through corrupt practices. Now we also have promote godfatherism, because we know that most states, it is not the governor that is ruling. He has somebody behind him, the person that promoted him, the person that sponsored his bill, the person that sponsored his campaign, the person that bought the cars he used for youth development and the rest of it. And this is what when they go into office, they tend to pay back their godfathers. And also, we do not know the identities of these people that we want to vote for. Why? Because what they bring to us is the party. How many of you go to the ballot boxes and you print your hand, you put a thumbprint over the name of the person you want to vote for? No, you see PDP, APC, UPP, and the rest of it. You vote for the political parties. And now we had a case in River State whereby the governor was voted, and then they went to court and said that this candidate that was voted into power under the auspices of PDP was not a PDP candidate. So therefore, this person voted Mr. A, and then the party went to court and said Mr. A was not our candidate. So Mr. B automatically becomes the governor. This is what is obtainable in Nigeria, and it is not good for our political system. It also creates political unrest. The status quo creates political unrest in the sense that we all know that during election periods, all of you here tell your children, don't go out after 8 p.m., don't go out after 9 p.m. They will use it for rituals and this and that. This is because this is the act as people in power, people that are intoxicated with power tend to do. Now let me go straight into my positive matter. Why we should ban these political parties? To promote individual participative and representative democracy. Now, what is democracy? A government of the people, by the people, and for the people. What we have now is elitocracy, a government of the elites, by the elites, and for the elites. That is what happens in Nigeria. Now, also, we want to ban these political parties to create a fair and level playing ground. I won't take any more POIs, don't worry. To create a fair and level playing ground. Why? Because when we have these political parties, like in Nigeria, the only candidates we know are PDP and APC. Does it mean that we will have only two persons out of 170 million that can rule our country? No. It is because we have not been able to ban these persons, and then we don't give other people a fair and level playing ground. But if we ban these people, everybody will come up. I will come up, I want to be Mr. President. This person will come up, I want to be Mr. President, and then you vote for who you want to, and not the political party. We want to also do this to prevent organized crime as a result of electoral grievances. We all know that when a political party ousts the other political party, they take to crime to be able to take back their revenge on the political party. This is what has been causing a lot of crimes that we know. Majorly the insurgency. We cannot take away the fact that insurgency has can be traced back to political differences in our country. Now, what's the solution to this status quo? We want to pass into law a non-partisan democracy. My PM has handled that. Let me give you the benefits of this policy before I run on. To promote level playing ground for all citizens, to ensure credibility of elections, to promote justifiable franchise. How? People can vote a candidate based on accountability, reliability, goodwill, credibility, and not based on political party or affiliation, just fatalism or nepotism. We want to promote our image on the international scene. Nigeria is currently ranked 136th most corrupt country in the world, and we all know that corruption is inherent in these political parties. Also, we want to promote economic stability, reduce the level of spending and inflation that go on when there's elections, because of the kind of money that this person throw around, because they have power and they have money. What have we been able to tell you? We brought to you a policy, Mr. Speaker, we brought to you a policy that is almost flawless, or that is flawless, for which the opposition will beg to agree. We are proud and very proud to propose as opening government. Thank you.
Let me now invite the Deputy Opposition Leader.
Mr. Chair, to suggest the absence of political parties is to suggest authoritarianism, and this is only obtainable in a military regime. We did not state that democracy is not acceptable. in a military regime, although this is self-evident as agreed by side government. We are only saying that because their policy is against popular democracy, it stands to suggest a military regime. We are saying that most countries of the world that practice democracy practice a party system of government. So to suggest non-partisan democracy is quite ridiculous and out of the point. The OG tells us that a political party is any specific political organization that subscribes to any political ideology to attain political power. They tell us that the reason that they suggest their policy is to solve the following problems in the status quo. They talk about the reduction of corruption, godfatherism, hiding under political parties, political arrest and organized crimes. Because they have not been able to show us how their policy is going to reduce corruption, how godfatherism will be absent, how political unrest will be solved, and how organized crime is going to be solved. We believe that their policy is suggesting a status quo that will be worse than the current one. Let me explain this. They do not tell us how these individuals are going to be chosen. They tell us about individual interest. How do you ensure that not only people from the north will come up for election as people with individual interest? What criteria have you placed to make sure that when these people meet it, then they are qualified to contest as people with individual interest? We believe that once a person has a man in the government, he can come forward from sponsorship by that man in government, and therefore his individual interest is established and he wins the public opinion polls they suggest. This implies godfatherism. We also believe that people can frame up their political opponents in order to make sure that they win this public opinion polls. This suggests organized crime. Also, Mr. Chair, they do not tell us how corruption is reduced because they do not tell us how they will ensure transparency in the counting of these public opinion polls. This suggests an increase in corruption. Therefore, their policy has failed. If the closing government accepts it, then they fail with them. If they reject it, they shout. Mr. Chair, moving on to my own argument. We, on the side of opening opposition, have told you that the state cannot interfere with a platform that aids the people to check on their political leaders. We tell you that this motion suggests an attempt in the elimination of the opposition, therefore suggesting a military regime. Peter has been able to tell you that the state does not have this power because of the presence of the Constitution. I'll buttress this point by pointing out that in the Constitution, we have the right of freedom of association, which suggests that you can form an association and you can join it. If you eliminate this right by your non-partisan suggestion, then how do you ensure that these people's fundamental rights will be corrected or will be held up in your policy? Also, Mr. Chair, we are able to tell you that the motion suggests an attempt to eliminate the opposition. This is because although they suggest that the status quo suggests meritocracy, meaning that only the allies can contest, they do not give us a criteria, so we assume that only people who have the money power, who have the financial power, will be able to get to the top in order to establish what their private interest is. And what should you tell us that because of a person's private interest, he should win? We tell you that the political parties have been able to regulate the political process such that people are screened. We have primaries before they finally come to campaign and get people to vote for them based on their ideologies and manifestos that they present to them. If you eliminate this for God's sake, you suggest a total disrespect of the majority's agreement. I'll take it.
Yes, you mentioned the issue of criteria for selection. We are not telling you that want to ban INEC. Please produce this criteria. So we are
Thank you very much. They are not banning INEC. What is the function of INEC? To regulate political parties and their candidates. So you support that political parties should stand. Mr. Chair, moving on to my own argument. I tell you that it is against the principles of democracy. Democracy proposes a party system. It could be multi-party and it could be single party. Whether it is multi or single, party is party. So if you tell us that an individual is going to come up, and simply because it has worked in a few other countries, we reject this. Popular democracy is the kind of democracy that is practiced by major democratic nations of the world. And this kind of democracy is such that parties are allowed to present candidates. People listen to them on the public platforms. They are able to vote based on what they have heard these people say. So you do not say that an individual can come up from anywhere he chooses in order to do it. We have been able to, I am telling you, Mr. Chair, that the political parties suggest healthy competition, between leaders. We see that, you see governors competing with each other, like Akpabio in Akwa Ibom State, Rotimi in Rivers State, Fashola in Lagos State, because they try to prove that different political parties can present better candidates. You see healthy competition in Nigeria. I do not understand how government comes to suggest that the country that has grown from underdeveloped to developing is a failing nation. Also, Mr. Chair, I am here to tell you that the policy suggests a furtherance of ethnic and tribal wars, and I'll tell you how. PDP has been able to give us candidates. We had Obasanjo from the west, Yar'Adua from the north, and now we have Goodluck from the south. Now, if you see that people should come out based on individual interest, how do you expect us to believe that because they come out on their own, Northerners not only support Northerners, Westerners not only support Westerners, and so on and so forth? What do we have? We have an absence of the majority. And so you see that people begin to fight with each other based on their ethnic and tribal origin. And with this, you see that there's political unrest which they were trying to solve. Also, Mr. Chair, we show you that Team Government tells us about the issue of the passing a bill in the government house. But I tell you that it's the duty of the legislative house to pass this bill. Members of the legislative house got there by political parties. They know what it took for them to get there through political parties. So how do you expect them to support a change that is going to negate the only means through which they could get there? We say that the impracticability of government policy is very evident in our argument. And based on this, as I stated before, closing government cannot accept this policy because it is a failed one. Mr. Chair, so far, I've been able to tell you that the state cannot interfere with the platform that acts as a check on political leaders. That this motion suggests an attempt at elimination of the opposition, therefore a military regime. We tell you that it's against the principles of popular democracy. We tell you that it's a means of destabilizing the political process. We show you that it introduces the choice of the majority. We show you that it introduces healthy competition, and that the very problems identified in the status quo still stand and worsen. On this basis, I proudly oppose.
That's the end of the opening things. We'll now move to the closing part of this debate by asking the member of government to address the House.
Can you hear me very well? Very well. Ladies and gentlemen, the opening comment says that the political parties have held in the country. The closing comment is going to prove how. The opening opposition says that it is unconstitutional. We are going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that it is unconstitutional doesn't make it not enforceable, doesn't make it inadmissible, because this is the policy motion and we want a change for once. The opposition says it eliminates opposition to government. Ladies and gentlemen, in the social societies, what opposes the government isn't necessarily political parties. We ask the POI for the closing government, and that's the fact that the media and rights activists are the people that oppose the government, because the government themselves own these political parties. If PDP enshrines, if PDP admits someone into power, it wouldn't want opposition to actually checkmate the government, but PDP has more networks, it would want to make sure that the government runs unopposed. So we think only the media that opposes the government at that point is going to stand. They now say that it's the exclusive minority. We're going to give that an argument. From the closing government, we're going to give you two basic arguments. First, the system is dysfunctional. The reason why we do not want political parties in our systems anymore. First of all, these political parties who are meant to have functional ideologies are operating functionally inconsistent ideologies. The essence of political parties is for them to actually operate under an ideology, whether they are progressives, whether they are liberal, whether they are social democratic, so that they will act on these ideologies. But what we see in Nigeria is political parties wandering about without any consistent ideologies. PDP as a People's Democratic Party, but they don't inherently insinuate with democracy. APC would always say that they are all progressives and communists, but in their political campaigns they mention they mention nothing about progressivism. The fact that ideologies do not exist in the political spectrum of societies because of political parties actually proves that these political parties are a little bit irrelevant and their ideologies are functionally inconsistent. So because of that, we think we will feel better with individuals who would always want the ideologies to be the metric for their selection into office, and we would want that kind of society. Secondly, we think the political parties form political dynasties. We tell you from the closing government that political parties form a conglomerate of networks and align with people of similar economic standing so that they can control the government, so that they can always reap the dividends of having someone in power. These political parties form the confederacy that was actually touched by the opening government, and we tell you that these political dynasties are the reasons why we have little efforts in transitioning of power. This is the main reason why we have efforts in actually removing PDP from power to be stifled. The closing government. If we institute these methods, if we actually put political parties, political dynamics will be eliminated, and people that have a lot of strength financially, people that can dictate laws for the government will actually be opposed by people of similar economic standing that don't share the ideology. So there won't be any reason for people to align under a party, false party ideology and control the government and promote laws that don't exist in society. Thirdly, minority exclusion. They claim that minorities are excluded in the status quo in what we are claiming actually. But we are telling you that minorities will have a lot of voice for people to be voted into power when we actually ban political parties. Political parties will only present one candidate for each post, and each political party has a lot of efforts, networks, and resources across all ethnic groups. No, thank you, sir. So, this actually means that minorities might not necessarily be the majority in the political parties, so they would never have anyone to represent them in the political party or the political party. But when you ban political parties, minorities can come as a group, coalesce, ladies and gentlemen, and get one person to represent them. And the government itself will be value neutral because they have no political affiliation to any party. They would want to actually have equal leverage for anybody to step into power. So these minority groups will have more opportunity to be voted into power than the status quo. Thank you.
On that point, sir, your issue of minority exclusion, don't you think it is anchoring the benefit of what you are trying to do? Because it is going to promote marginalization in the sense that the poor will not be able to contest in these elections.
Marginalization exists because political parties are run by individuals who have a lot of money and don't actually share the same ideologies with minority representatives who don't have a lot of money. So they only bring out the people to represent political parties, and that is what the society sees, and that is what the society votes for. But in our status quo, when we actually ban political parties, minorities can coalesce and get one individual to represent them. Then because of the free and fair election, minorities can stand a chance of being voted into power. Second argument, how no party system will solve the problems that were been listed. First of all, when we ban political parties, we are going to remove discriminatory frameworks for considering who aligns with the government. The government becomes the government not because of political ties or political affiliations to any party. The government becomes the government because the people voted it into power, not because of the party, but because of what they see in the person. So we see that there will be no discriminatory framework for selection of who actually joins the government to become the government. As the person that enters power would actually see every other person as qualitative and would want to justify the selection based on the political qualification of that person. But in the political party system, they would only select people that share their party affiliation. That is why PDP runs almost 32 states in the country. That is why a lot of offices in the society are run by people that share similar affiliation with the ruling party and the government party. We think this is particularly problematic and we would want to solve that. Secondly, the efficiency in democratic processes will be improved, as parliamentary bodies will have more deliberations that are not contingent on the political affiliations, but are contingent on individuals' representative ideologies. Rather, people that are lawmakers will not actually oppose other people because of their party affiliations, but they will oppose people because they simply do not think it is best for the society. That is what we propose from the closing government. Thirdly, there will be less trouble, there will be less force in transitioning of power. We think it is more manageable to have individual versus individual political systems than party versus party individual political systems. Because these parties, when competing for offices, when competing for power, they go to extreme lengths to actually make sure that they outwit and actually have more votes than other parties. And due to the large variety of networks and resources that they have, due to their conglomeration and applications and networks, they actually fizzle out other parties. And these other parties, in order to actually outshine these parties, go dating. That is why politics is actually a dating game, because parties run a lot of propaganda. We think this propaganda will be managed and minimized when individuals can only run for themselves and government regulates that regulatory body. Again, we think that transparency will be reasonably achieved, because candidates will be reasonably assessed by their clearing qualifications and mandates, rather than being shrouded by the gimmicks of political parties. PDP will just present one person for a political office, and try to convince the people that this person does not have this qualification, is manageable. But because they are the ruling power, they get to be admitted. But in our status quo, in our policy, where you actually plan political parties, individuals will be considered based on their qualifications and not based on their party applications, not based on the gimmicks of the political parties. We want a free and fair political system. We beg to propose.
Welcome, member of opposition.
Mr. Chair, today's debate is not about the corrupt individuals in the system, but the capacity for the system to produce optimal results. It is not about the subjective evaluation of individuals, but an objective appraisal of the system to deliver the dividends of democracy. And so we say that this side has presented a very ridiculous case, and I will show you how. First of all, we get from the opening government a status quo, and they fail to give us a logical link to how to solve the problems of the status quo. They speak about heavy corruption, godfatherism, political unrest, and organized crime. And we challenge this on necessity because we know that every corruption exists in the system, whether it's the political party system or not. We know that godfatherism is an act when somebody assumes political power and wants to bring somebody like his friend or his brother into political power. So we are saying that even if there is a non-partisan democracy, as long as we are in political power, like they have said, godfatherism will still exist. And then we are saying that political unrest is immaterial in this case, because political unrest is always coming from post-electoral violence, and that exists in non-partisan system and not. And then we hear a policy without the practicability of the policy. It says that for a period of time, till we get to a stable society, we say to you that a period of time is relative in nature, because a good economy to me might be different from you. And Americans might also believe, America that is also found the strongest nation and economy in the world, might also believe that their government is not doing well. So saying that it is still till you have a stable society before you enact this policy, we say that's relative. That's relative in nature, and they fail to give us a logical link on how to do this. And we say we are a non-partisan democracy from them, and we are saying that imagine a nation of 160 million people, and you are saying all individuals should come out and vote. So we can be having a political system where you have close to 1 million people deciding to go for president. What kind of society do you want to create? What a ridiculous society they are bringing in this case. And we are saying, and they are talking about the fact of elitism. When you are an elite, you are rich and you are popular in society. So even in a non-partisan democracy, a rich and a popular person still exists. So elitism still exists in their policy. So we see that they didn't even prepare well for this debate in the first place, and they are not final material. They also speak about international scene. We are saying that no democratic system runs this bad kind of policy in the human. So imagine somebody walking in naked into this room. How would the person look to you? So imagine how a nation that practices a non-partisan system, a democratic system, how would they look so ridiculous and weird to society. So their initial international scene is ridiculous. And we say every argument they brought to the table is flawed. And then Henry comes to tell me for selfish reasons. But saying that selfish reason will still exist in a non-partisan democratic system. Did he even think about this policy before bringing it up? And he talks about minorities who come up. And we are saying that minority groups coming up, minorities still exist in a non-partisan democratic system, because they are saying that even people that are not rich enough can still contest. So what do you mean by minorities who come up? And we feel that they have no case in this argument. And what have we heard from this side? This side tells us that they are creating a military system. That this doesn't run in a democratic system. It is illegal and it doesn't benefit the common man. And they say that it facilitates competition because political parties will also be involved in this. What are we bringing to the table in our extension? As we have shown you how ridiculous they are. Let me have you.
Since you and your opponent do not deny that the problem with the status quo, how does not banning political parties solve this inherent problem?
That's what we are saying. You didn't even answer the question in the first place, because we are saying that all the things you said, all the problems in the status quo is independent of your solution. All the problems in the status quo exist whether a solution is there or not. Corruption exists whether a solution is there or not. But variety will always exist whether a solution is there or not. Political unrest exists whether a solution is there or not. So we are saying that maintain the status quo, have the political parties to deliver dividends of democracy. Let's move on. Our extensions are the ideological premise, analysis, evaluation, practical analysis, and merit of the status quo. When we look at the ideological premise, we have two things in mind: the representative structure. We believe that the political parties serve as a representative structure to deliver the dividends of democracy. So it's a categorical imperative for our units of representative structure. So we don't have a society where everybody or 1 million people just decide to go for president. We're also saying that political parties are driven by a structural imperative and ideology. And if I believe that APC is aligning myself to my ideology, I join APC. If I believe PDP, I join PDP. And then we fight. We have this intellectual battle on who will represent us and take our mantle. So we believe on ideological premise, political parties stand strong in simplifying choices and creating a common ground for the people. And this stands as our first extension. We move on to the second one, analysis evaluation. We look at the stakeholder analysis and endgame analysis. Looking at the stakeholder analysis, we're looking at the fact that when you look at the stakeholders, in this case, which are the electorate or the citizens, this does not benefit them in any way because it reinforces the idea of inequality in the system. Because a man who is rich enough will even show that he's rich enough and he will go for offices in a non-partisan democracy like they have proposed. So we are saying that it doesn't benefit the common man because a poor man will now know that he's really a poor man because he's not good enough to go for political system. And if a poor man is good enough and joins a political party joins hands to raise money to bring him up to represent them. So this is just a confused house. We move on to the endgame analysis. We said this is not a panacea to the existing things in the status quo, and that is our endgame analysis. Because at the end of the day, the status quo is not solved anyway. In fact, it worsens the status quo, and they fail to give us how this happens. And this is our analysis evaluation. We look over to the practical analysis, and we're looking at the bureaucratic processes in enacting this. Look at the fact that the status quo already exists. Look at the jagabans that exist in political parties. How do you expect them to leave their political parties and just go for a non-partisan system? We are having a nation that is not even moving forward because of the bureaucratic processes involved in changing the status quo. We believe that is irrational for them. Secondly, we look at the time and place of ban, and we look at the issue of precedence. As I said earlier, the US, we have a healthy competition between Democrats and Republicans. They stand as a nation that we want to emulate because they are the greatest tenets, but they have the greatest tenets of democracy. We look at UK, we have the Conservative versus Labour, and every other democratic party to show that there is no precedent for this, for us to have a system that facilitates totalitarianism and anarchy. So we are saying there's no precedent for it, and there's no time. I want to look at the fact that there are several delegate agencies in existence. We think it's a waste of time and resources for you to ask people to go and represent themselves, because at the end of the day, the political parties are good enough to foster healthy competition and help this one get better ideas to representing the ideologies that they serve. And finally, we look at the fact that we look at the merits of the status quo, and we see that in a political party system, there is cross-fertilization of ideas. Because at the end of the day, we see that people begin to share their ideas more on how to enhance their ideology and propel the ideology of the political party. And we look at the financial capacity, as I said earlier in inequality, that at the end of the day, the political parties will join hands together to raise funds for a man who is capable of running this thing. And we say that this side of the house deserves to do this because they really practicality and necessity. And this side is disgusting.
Thank you, member of the opposition. I'll now call on the government whips to conclude the case of the
Mr. and Madam Speaker, House at large. Opening opposition should simply tell this House how the absence of parties like PDP or APC institutes military system in governance. This debate, because of the statement Nathan made from closing, is not about the general characteristic of political parties in the world. This debate is about the characteristics of political party system in Nigeria. So we don't think to say that to divorce the problems that exist in our political parties and say that it's something that's inherently just a political party problem in Nigeria is any wrong. So when we tell you that the political party system is bad, we simply tell you that because this debate is about Nigeria, the political party system in Nigeria is bad. What is the counter solution of opening opposition? They claim that opening government policy is bad and they want to fix the problem that exists. Nothing from them. Member of opposition, and I clash him directly. Member of opposition said only the rich will get to be elected. We don't think money is a metric for selection. If that were the metric for selection, Dangote should be the president of Nigeria, right? So what we see as a metric for selection is no matter how rich you are, if you don't have popular demand, if you cannot carry the voice of your people, you still cannot get into power. The fact that I can run for office doesn't mean that my money will get me to be voted, okay? So if my people don't like me, people still don't vote for me. And to the extent that you think money is a metric, what you see, and an argument they keep bringing from this side, is that the policy that this side is trying to bring will ensure that people get poor and poor and poor. Already in status quo, the only reason why people are in PvP, other than the claim of the ideology they ascribe to, is that they have money. So when was the last time you saw a beggar on the street who has a perfect picture of Nigeria to run as the PDP chairman or PDP president? It doesn't happen. So status quo already exists. That people who are financially buoyant and people who get their way to the top or get anywhere close to Asoro or into political office. We don't think that that's a problem that's inherent from what we bring to you. So he talks about a society will have many people running into power. We think the selection will naturally exist by relevance. So people will naturally want to have a relationship with people. So if I'm the leader in my country, in my state, in my local government, I would like to know the people in my local government so that they can ascribe to what I believe in. That way, people can even get closer to people they want to put in power. It ensures that people will have greater representation and the tenets of democracy are better enshrined in society. They talk about the concept of precedence, that is going to set the precedence. We tell you that change starts from somewhere. They talk about this concept of precedence. We change starts from somewhere. The fact that you claim that it doesn't exist anywhere, unfortunately, the magnitude of corruption we have in Nigeria does not exist anywhere either. So let's just say that this is a presidency we're setting, and in case you claim that it doesn't exist anywhere, we don't think that's an excuse for inaction on our side. I'll take you.
One word, we support the status quo. And secondly, people who contest elections contest because they have interest. So if Dangote does not contest, it means probably he does not have interest in political office.
If he doesn't have interest in political office and he's still rich, it simply means money is not the metric for going into power. And I'm telling you on this side, but the fact that I'm rich doesn't mean that I will always get power. Okay. What did we tell you from closing government? We told you a couple of things. We clarified this fluctuation and inconsistency of ideologies. So the fact that ideologies shift, PDP say that they are People's Democratic Party, but I'm grossly democratic in the way. Or APC are supposed to be progressives, then when it comes to certain policies, they are non-progressive and conservative. So this diverse of ideologies and the fact that it's claimed but of non-existence almost in society, means that people can't even ascribe to what they believe in. I may believe in being progressive, but I can't believe in every ideology of the APC. But it's easier when it's an individual. So if I buy into your ideology and clearly buy into what you fit, I can vote completely into what you want me to do. And I can give you that mandate and say, go into power. You are a representation of what I want. We also told you on closing that the political dynasties that exist will not exist until other one will say go. So this is what we tell you, that because political party dynasties exist with things like PDP and APC and the ability for them to run and build dynasties and hierarchies for themselves and make themselves godfathers in posts that people can almost not remove them. It simply means for APC to win, for PDP to win, for APC to win PDP, they almost have to dream and cry because it's more of a dynasty and less of a party. It's more like family business. So if I pass on to someone who is more loyal to me and who's more submissive to me, the dynasty continues, the trend keeps on to go. We're talking about concept again of minority inclusion. So if you talk about the most inclusive framework between what they say and our policy, we think that it's easier for someone from the biggest village in Lagos, who people love, to go into power as a metric for representing people. Vis-a-vis when you have a political party system, especially when he knows nobody in office and has no one to vote for him because he's not that popular. So we think minorities are more included in society because now their selection is not based on the ability to know people in Asoro or other metrics that are not contingent on the ability to represent people. Now people go into power because people love them, because you have a voice, and the fact that you have money is not a reason for you to be voted. We also told you that there will be efficiency in the democratic process. So PDP is the president, and maybe upper house is grossly APC in seats. So what happens is that bills are very difficult to pass because while it's PDP from this side, APC want to stifle it to ensure that PDP is not doing a good job. Then it becomes a tussle of party versus party, and not people and people and people and people. And we claim democracy is supposed to be a government for the people. We talk to you about removing discriminatory frameworks that exist, so that decisions are not made on the basis of what party you ascribe to, but on the basis of the great collective. No wonder that almost is non-existent of the nationalist identity. We are less Nigerian and more party affiliated and ethnic affiliated. But this is going to be a unifying framework that brings people together under the umbrella of change and progressive ideologies, that this is what we want. We tell you that transparency is more reasonably attained because it's less easy and it's less difficult to steal money and hide things. It's easier for people to hold you responsible for the mandate. You said you'll do this for me, and you ought to do it. Then when it's in the political party system, it is more difficult. Why do we think closing with this debate? We are more realistic about the problems that exist in society. We tell you that it's easier for people to have a better democracy, to engage in society, to ensure that the growth of a society will be contingent on people and represent in society. What did government tell you? Government told you about certain points, right? They told us about the policy and told us about reducing corruption, godfatherism, political unrest. Why the closing?
We bring this debate because we want more practical in society. We bring this debate because we tell you that ideologies will not be based on what group I ascribe myself to. We bring this debate because we tell you people will vote for you because they like who you are. Not because they like who you are, but because you're able to appeal to the deaf conscious, they're able to appeal to that ideology they push for. We are proudly closed.
Opposition whip, take the floor.
Mr. Chair, let us put aside every form of sanctimoniousness, every form of duplicity and fanatical fallacy that the side government has presented to this place. The government will come to tell us that the political party system is bad. Mr. Chair, we cannot have a political system without individuals. It is these individuals that make up the political system. So if you say the individuals are bad, that means it is these same individuals that you want to go as non-partisan system, that will still be corrupt. Therefore, you cannot say that it's that political system framework that makes them corrupt, but because the individuals themselves are corrupt. This money is not a basis for selection, Mr. Chair. How are you going to campaign to people who don't even know you without having money? Is it by speaking with word of mouth alone? How many streets are you going to reach? What's the purpose of connectivity? How are you going to connect to these people without money, Mr. Chair? Because they have decided not to develop and to understand the purpose of social media and how this is important in communication and development. Mr. Chair, he used a very busy and a very unlogical analysis of the local government. And I pray to the that is the status quo. You cannot go before a local government chairman or a ward chairman without having a close connectivity with your people in the local government. So, Mr. Chair, what exactly are they trying to tell us by telling us that the local government person is not known to the citizens? Because we know that the ward chairman is the one that stays the community and is representing the community. We talk about the issue of precedent, and unfortunately, they fail to give us examples of nations that are actually practicing non-partisan democracy. And say that change that we don't want change. Mr. Chair, we don't want a change that is going to hamper our development. We don't want a change that is negative. Change is only good if only it is positive. And he gave a very ridiculous example of corruption and how Nigeria is the most corrupt. And I beg to differ because Nigeria is not the most corrupt. It's better go to check the corruption index and the transparency index because Nigeria is just like the 137 out of all the nations in the world. It's not about someone from Lagos and the stick up boils down to the issue of money and campaign. Imagine someone from the busy street of Lagos, as he said earlier, running for president. Do people know him in Owerri? Do the people know him in Kaduna? Do people know him in Jos? It's in the function of this political system to fund these individuals and make them more popular, buy campaign, and let people buy into their ideology and allow them to be voted for. Mr. Chair, you also gave an example of PDP versus APC and how it will be difficult for you to pass the bill and how it stifles development. Mr. Chair, when you see that example of PDP and APC, that means when PDP presents a bill, APC will not allow it to go. That is between two people. Now imagine a scenario where there are 300 people in the house. This one is saying no, let's do it like this. This one is saying yes, let's do it like this. That is going to cause a very chaotic society, and we don't want that. And we say for shame to that argument. Mr. Chair, what did side government say here? Let me give a brief summary of what this debate has been about. The Prime Minister came on and the first statement was that this may sound ridiculous. Yes, I totally agree with you. It not only sounds ridiculous, it is totally ridiculous. He gave us the status quo without telling us how his own solution is going to solve the status quo. And he said that until we get a stable economy, when is that going to be? Should we keep building our lofty empires on the detriment of the poor? We on the opposition, we say no. He say that political unrest is one of the things that causes this kind of situation that we have. But Mr. Chair, if you say political unrest is due to the political party system that we run, political unrest will still arise if you have different individuals, and it's even going to be worse because it's going to be on the last day. Please see that you said nothing in this debate. You said you're going to revoke the act that established it. And Mr. Chair, we are very aware of the bureaucratic process that is involved in passing a bill in this kind of thing. So how long are we going to wait for your realities to come into fulfillment? You say you're going to revoke the act that is established of it. And I'm telling you that this thing has happened not because it has failed, but because you want change. Imagine, just because you want change, we should all follow you into this place. You say that your multi-partisan system is going to be a healthy political platform. How? There is no logical analysis which I've seen in this side of the government.